This is Mark Gatford for the Sportsman. We have the pleasure of being joined by Sky presenter Johnny Nelson. Johnny, you look very happy to be in LA.
You know what? I've been to LA a few times, but I've never actually been to Venice Beach. And so, what a great setting! What a great setting for an odd occasion. But it's going to be an interesting one.
There's kind of like two schools of thought at the moment. One side is saying this is going to broaden the appeal of the sport. The other side saying this is a bit of an insult to boxing. Where do you sit in this debate?
You know what? You can never judge how good someone is a boxer or isn't a boxer. These two young boys want to dip their toe in the world of boxing. So it's good for our sport because on the undercard you've got a couple of world title fights on there. And so for even if 10%, even if 2% of the crowd that are watching this, which will be massive, fall in love with our sport, then our sport benefits. There's some young fighters on the undercard as well. They may also benefit from such a young crowd. So again, I think everybody benefits. It's good for our sport, and you'll see the quality. You'll see the difference in class. You'll see the difference in a seasoned pro to guys that have had like 2 or 3 fights each. And so that's when people realise how hard our sport is. But if we've got the chance of elevating the notoriety of our sport to an audience that's never been or considered watching boxing, good. If you're in boxing, you think boxing is the world. You think everyone's into boxing, but in reality, we're that big. Market, right? We're that big. So anything like this is actually pretty good.
You mentioned there how hard the sport is. Yeah. Moving down to 10-ounce gloves and getting hit on the nose with 10-ounce gloves. Just talk to me about what that's going to be like. It's going to be a new experience for these guys.
Yeah, so the reality is this. So these guys, when they boxed last time, they did it a white collar. They had, I think it was 12-ounce gloves, head guards on. And now, the difference of the ounce of the size of the gloves and no head guards. Now, and they're fighting in Grant's gloves as well. These are knockout gloves, all the weight's in the wrist. And so now you've got 2 big units that are boxing, that have had a year or so to prepare for each other. I think it's going to be a different fight than it was last time. And this time, I'll be surprised if it went the distance, because both fighters have seen what attention it got. So when you've got 2 fighters going in there, no head guards, smaller gloves, then you're going to see, the result of that. And this is what professional fighters have to do every day. This is what you've got to go for every race. And now they're professional fighters. And again, the crowd will see the difference between a seasoned professional, kids that have done it in the amateurs, gone up and got to the top level, and a few young novices that have got into it. And again, KSI is actually considering getting a camera on boxing after this as well, so which is good.
From what you've seen of KSI so far, I guess it's limited because they've only had 1 fight. But how far can he go in the pro game if he decides to commit all his time to it after this fight, if he wins?
Well, KSI had two white collar fights, so this will be his 3rd one. I think there's a lot of learning. And these guys have done it back to front. They've got the fame and the glory without actually. It's like having a gear and no idea. So now they're doing it back to front. So now they've got to learn in public. So every fight they'll be criticised. Every fight someone will judge and say, right, he's not very good, him. They've got to get used to that. They've got to accept that. That's part of the game. But then, does he need to do it? These guys have made a lot of money. They've got their own fan base. But boxing takes a lot of commitment. You can't play boxing. So if you're going to play at it, you're going to get hurt. So let's see about the longevity after this in regards to how much they want to commit to it. Because if you speak to them, these guys have been training for almost a year for this. It's taking a year out of their life for this. And if you really want it, you think about it, you dream about it, you eat it. It takes your mind off everything. You've got to be selfish towards everything you do. So it takes a lot of commitment. So these guys are playing at it. Let's see after the fight how much they really have engrossed themselves in it, to take it up as a proper career.
Billy Joe Saunders, world champion on the undercard. Yep. As a former world champion, how do you think you would have felt as being on the undercard to 2 guys who are essentially novices?
Right. So I was asked that question a few times, and the question is, would you be peed off? No, I wouldn't. And the reason being is because I know, these guys, they couldn't tie my shoelaces, but I also know that the chance of getting more of a fan base following are massive. I'm going to be able to show off in front of all these people. And so it's going to be a great chance to show off. This is ego, saying I want to be top of the bill, I want to be the main reason here. The reason why it's here, the reason why it's sold out so well, the reason why it's got so much attention is because of the 2 guys that sell tickets. Sometimes you get fighters on an undercard that sell a load of tickets, and they might not be great fighters, but because they sell a load of tickets, they fill the hall out. This is what the top of the bill have got. They're great ticket sellers. So you get used to that, you understand that. I can remember being world champion and there was guys on my undercard that sold more tickets than I did. So what, you know? So that's just how it is. If you want to fight, you want to fight. So I was Billy Joe, I was Devin Haley. I just think that's just how it is, one of those things.
And just finally, Johnny, you alluded to the fact you think this may not go the distance. You're leaning towards a knockout?
I'm leaning towards a knockout, and I'm just wondering how popular my thoughts on how this would go. But in reality, I think these two guys have put a lot of work into it. I would go for the more athletic of the two. I'd go for the bigger of the two. I'd go for the one that you hear about rumours of prep and everything of the two. That's obviously Logan I'm going for. KSI's my boy. But and I hope neither of them get hurt. But I just think Logan's probably taking it a bit more serious this time. And so that's where we'll see the difference. And the 10-ounce gloves will make a massive difference as well. Johnny
Nelson, absolute pleasure to hear your thoughts. Thank you for speaking to the Sportsman.
I'm going to go in the sea now. I'm in Venice Beach. Get the shirt off.